took some time to truly think things over. I didn't want to go and all of a sudden say things, and end up lamenting something I might say. Although I don't think there's anything incendiary that I can say that hasn't been said before. I don't think there's anything controversial that I can come up with that hasn't been spoken about before either. So with all this in mind, you see the rift between Brazil and Argentina, and then Argentina and the rest becoming bigger and bigger. Although Argentina seems to be closer to the rest than them getting closer to Brazil. Brazil, of course, is separating from the pack, and separating from the pack in a very alarming manner. They obviously are the league that invests the most, not only in South America, but all of America. And that ends up being one of the preoccupying factors of it all. Now, when you look at it from the entire hemisphere, maybe you start looking at the Brasileirão as the best league in this region. And I would not have a doubt in my mind that is the truth. But Libertadores is proving that you have to invest, that you have to, whether you're investing in a crazy manner, whether you're investing for the medium term or long term, or you're investing to win this season, if you're investing, you end up being more successful. But if you have resources with which you can invest, you end up being, or at least having the odds of being successful in this competition. 5 of the 6 Brazilian teams that were in the round of 16 advance. So we're guaranteed at least 2 to advance into the next round. We could have 3 advancing into the semifinals. So, of course, on the other end, it was guaranteed that you were going to have an Argentine side, but you didn't expect it to be Talleres and Colón. 2 teams that have been mired. Talleres, you start looking at Talleres and Vélez. As Talleres beat Colón. One team, Vélez is a team that if you look at them from a collective standpoint, yes, they're young in some positions. Lucas Prato, you can't consider him young. He's more towards the end of his career, towards the twilight of his career, than he is towards his peak, much less the beginning. But they were able to do enough to get past a downtrodden River, who throughout 179 minutes plus River was not the better team. Vélez was the better team. Yeah, you heard that right. The only time you could really say that River, well, there were a couple of instances. I shouldn't say 179. At the beginning of the match, when Brian Romero misses the opportunity that he had in front of goal, River were playing better. But Vélez were able to rectify their play, rectify their composure, and went about, of course, the goal that was disallowed. We can go into many things. In Argentina, they're still debating whether it was or wasn't a handball, which many outside saying, yeah, it was. But then again, here's where this little caveat can go into the world of controversy. Marcelo Gallardo, when was it? A couple of years back, says, why, I think it was with Boca, why does Boca always talk about the refereeing? Why doesn't Boca talk about, and this was, God, I forgot which one. It was a few years back. It was actually the semifinals of 2019. Why does Boca always talk about refereeing? Why does Boca always talk about them being screwed? Why does Boca talk about this? Why does Boca talk about that? And he tends to forget, very selective memory by Marcelo Gallardo, 2018, when there's a call that goes River's way, and one of his play, I think it was Bruno Suculini, that doesn't get sent out. I mean, you see, to this day, if you see that replay of that play, that's not even a red card. It's assault, to be quite honest with you. But Bruno Suculini did on that particular play. It was against Independiente. So when you start looking at what this team can bring forth, it's not the team that was before. Julian Alvarez leaves. Enzo Fernandez is leaving. Borja, we don't know yet what's going to happen with him. Yesterday he was coming, the day before he wasn't. The day before that, there was no money that Argentine teams could send, no dollars that could be sent by Argentine teams out abroad to be able to buy players. Today, the president of River says, well, we never had a deal, but we might have a deal soon. So what became Wednesday was then Thursday. What became Thursday is now Friday. What became Friday is now next Monday. So what gives? That's the big issue here. This isn't bash River. This isn't talk about River. Boca has their own problems too, trust me. If you haven't heard about Izquierdos and the prize money that some of the players have not received and the impending boycott that they were having of not going to the hotel where they usually assemble before playing matches. And Izquierdos, after defending his team as the team captain, ends up getting excluded from the side by Hugo Ibarra, the interim coach. Lots of issues going on with Juan Román Riquelme as well. Lots of issues going on with River. Lots of issues going on with Argentine football. So when you start looking at it and you start to see what Flamengo is doing, when you start to see what Palmeiras is doing, Palmeiras right now, the standard bearer, they are the bar when it comes to South American football, what they were able to do. Atlético Mineiro doing just barely enough to be able to get into the next round, but they were able to do more than what Emelec was able to put up. We skip over to Sudamericana and you start to see what Sao Paulo did against Universidad Católica, and it just seemed like Católica exchanged the pink jerseys for the white flags. And they started waving as soon as that first goal came in. So Chilean football is also in a bit of a flux. Colombian football is, Tolima, the team that was the standard bearer for Colombian football, goes to the Maracanã, loses 7-1. What else do you want me to say? It's bad leadership. It's bad administration. The people that run the FAs are inept. Because let's be completely honest. I'll be completely honest with you. If these leaders in South American football were capable, I'll even add Mexican football because they're just as inept, maybe even more so. The only difference is that in Mexican football they have money, and they can patch hole. They can patch up holes with the millions that they get from the United States. Let's be real. Let's be completely real about that. The money that they're getting is used to patch up holes and go and buy players from South America to be able to make the teams look better. So Mexican football doesn't end up, getting a pass on this one. So let's keep that in mind. That is where South American football is failing, because Chilean football, they had one great generation and all of a sudden they got accustomed to it, doing well, or relatively well, until they didn't. And then all of a sudden they go and look and see, oh, we don't have anything else to be able to change this national team. That's why many are even saying, well, Arturo Vidal might play in 2026 at 38, 39. Ben Brereton, that's pretty much the only one. Ben Brereton Diaz. That's the name, the new name in Chilean football, or at least the national team. Why? Because the owners, the presidents, the people that run Chilean football, they think that a reserve tournament is way too expensive. We cannot. How dare you tell us to be able to set up a tournament where we're not going to earn money, or a lot of money, and we're going to have to go to our stadium to turn on the lights to play a match against teams that aren't even our first teams. How dare you say that we play a youth tournament? Some of these Chilean teams do not have youth sides that they can go and say, you know what? This is our future. Many of these teams do not have that. So where the youth programs are or not, So that ends up being a major issue there as well. So you start asking yourself those questions. When Chilean football is struggling, where do you go? Where do you go to get new names? It's the whole little minutes rule that they have. Well, a youth player has to play X amount of minutes, but that's 1 or 2, maybe 3 players at most. How are you going to be able to start changing over a national team when the youngsters don't get a chance? And you have to go abroad to start finding players. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a proponent of that. Because many that are abroad are citizens of whatever country you're talking about. In this case, Chile. And they have just as much a right, some even have just as much a desire to go and represent Chile or Colombia or Argentina or whoever as the ones that were born and bred and grew up and whatever in that particular country. But you end up seeing some of these national teams have to use that as their only recourse, as their last recourse to be able to field a national team. Or field a competitive national team, I should say. I don't think I need to say more, because you start seeing the problems in every single one of these countries, and they tend to be alike, and they tend to be the same, and they tend to cause and handcuff and limit and hinder the growth of South American football and some of these young players that might have a chance and have potential, but don't have where to be able to apply their craft, improve their craft, and be the players that they could be. That's another reason why you see the Sao Paulo match last night against U Católica, and you have 2 players that come in 18 years of age and completely turn the game around, a game that was already decided, but they end up being dynamic in their own ways. Rodriguinho makes his absolute debut, and 10 minutes after he comes in, he scores. Probably the best goal of the match. So when you start looking at the deficiencies and the positives of South American football, you understand exactly what's going on. Because that's the reality that's very apparent and very disappointing at times, because as one wanting to see not just Brazil and Argentina be successful, not just Colombia being as competitive as possible, but also seeing the other countries being able to fight and have a good chance and have a fair chance as well. But sometimes when you talk about fair, you also have to make it fair for yourself. You can't expect others to make it fair for you. And in the case of some of these administrators and presidents and FA members, they're waiting for something from above. The only thing is that proverbial, hey, whatever stays up in the air is for God, and whatever comes down on the ground is for me. They took that literally, and they took that to the next bank. This episode is brought to you by TruLean Nutrition. And look, I've been using TruLean for the past couple of days, past couple of weeks. It's been helping me out in terms of getting ready, because getting ready for November when the World Cup runs around means that it's not all fun and games. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of mentally and physically demanding work that one has to be able to put in. And you need help to be able to get ready for that. It's not something that you just, hey, 2 weeks before, let's see if I can be ready. No, it doesn't work out that way. You have to go months and sometimes even years in advance. In my case, months in advance to be able to get ready. That's why I've decided to jump on board with TruLean, because, well, they're the highest quality all natural supplements that make better health and fitness. That's possible. That's something that's feasible. That's something that can fit into your lifestyle. Their products are built around the rhythm of the day and are optimized for the results that you may want to achieve. You got to put in the right type of fuel in your body, because at times it just doesn't help to have fitness goals. It just doesn't help going to the gym. Just doesn't help working and just grinding it out. You need to have good fuel in your body in order to be able to perform at the highest level. So that's why Truly Nutrition is what I'm using. Right now, you can go onto their website and get 15% off. You can just put the special promo code they offer me, which is TLB as in boy, B as in boy, Juan, WC22, and you get 15% off any Truly product. So make sure that you go check it out. And again, if you missed out the promo code, it'll be on the show notes. So make sure you're checking it out, okay? Truly Nutrition.